The lights were already too bright, and Marco Rubio's voice cut through them like a siren. "This isn't complicated," he barked, his finger jabbing the air. "Israel is our ally. We stand by them, period." He wasn't just speaking to the panel, he was performing for the cameras, the donors, the headlines. Jasmine Crockett sat across from him, her posture straight, her hands folded. She didn't blink. Rubio leaned forward again. "People keep bringing up civilian casualties, as if Hamas hands out evacuation notices. This is war, and Israel has the right to defend itself." Murmurs echoed in the chamber. Some nodded. Others looked down. Jasmine still hadn't said a word. A host from one of the networks turned toward her, almost cautiously. "Congresswoman Crockett, your response?" She reached for the mic. Slow, measured, deliberate. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't match his heat. She simply looked him in the eye. "Senator Rubio," she said, "do you know who Shireen Abu Akleh is?" The room froze. Rubio's mouth parted, then closed. She continued. "She was an American journalist, shot in the head, in Jenin, wearing a vest that said press in capital letters." The panel was silent. Cameras didn't pan. Producers didn't cut to commercial. Jasmine's voice didn't tremble. "You yelled for Israel. I just spoke her name." "I'm not here to debate individual tragedies," Rubio snapped. "Every war has victims. You want to bring up a journalist? Fine. But don't twist the narrative." Jasmine didn't flinch. "It's not a twist," she replied. "It's a fact. Verified, recorded, and still unanswered." The moderator shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the direction they expected the segment to take. Rubio leaned forward again. "You think you can drop one name and change U.S. foreign policy?" "No," Jasmine said calmly, "but I think names matter more than slogans." Rubio scoffed. "Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. A democracy that killed a U.S. citizen and never held anyone accountable." There it was again, that stillness. Jasmine didn't escalate. She peeled. "You want to talk about defense?" she asked. "Let's talk about disproportion. 248 Palestinians dead in 11 days, over 60 of them children. And you say that's just war?" Rubio raised a hand, trying to cut her off. "You're defending terrorists." Her eyes sharpened, not in rage, but in precision. "I'm defending the truth, and if your argument can't survive it, maybe it was never that strong to begin with." By midnight, the clip had already hit 2.3 million views. Jasmine Crockett says one name, and Rubio crumbles. Shireen Abu Akleh trends again after explosive House hearing. Congresswoman schools Rubio on foreign policy with facts, not slogans. TikTok had it in vertical. Twitter had it in threads. Instagram had it in slow motion. Zoomed in on Rubio's face as Jasmine said. She was wearing a vest that said press. Rubio's team scrambled. His comms director fired off a tweet. "Senator Rubio supports freedom of the press and mourns all civilian deaths." Too late. People didn't care about cleanup. They had already seen the moment, and they believed what they saw. Meanwhile, Jasmine sat quietly in her office. "Aide, you're trending." Again. She didn't look up from her notes. "Is Shireen's name in the headline?" "Most of them, yeah." "Then it's not about me. It's about finally being heard." In Miami, Rubio's base held strong, but in D.C., the tide shifted. Young staffers whispered, "Did you see the way she just dismantled him?" Policy advisors muttered, "We need a response strategy. Fast." But Jasmine had already moved on. Because for her, it was never about winning the moment. It was about remembering the forgotten. And now the whole country had remembered a name they'd been told to forget. The morning after the viral clip, conservative media had a new talking point. Jasmine Crockett is anti-Israel. She sympathizes with radicals. Un-American, unfit. Rubio went on air. "I respect Congresswoman Crockett's passion, but her comments are reckless and, frankly, dangerous." He didn't mention Shireen, not once. He didn't mention the numbers, the children, the airstrikes. Just one thing. She hates our allies. But Jasmine, she didn't flinch. She stood before the press, not with rage, but with receipts. She played the clip again, this time at her own press briefing. Paused at the moment she said, "She was an American journalist." Then she looked straight at the cameras. "Tell me, what part of that is anti-anything? Is it anti-ally to demand accountability? Is it un-American to say an American deserves justice?" A brief silence. Then she added, "If standing for the truth offends you, maybe the problem isn't what I said. Maybe it's what you refuse to see." Rubio's team pushed harder, leaked out-of-context quotes, old tweets, fabricated outrage. But each time, Jasmine didn't retreat. She refocused. "They want to make it about me," she said to her staff, "because they can't argue with the facts." "So what do?" someone asked. "We keep saying the names, the ones they try to bury beneath the noise." 3 days after the hearing, a small, sealed envelope arrived at Jasmine's congressional office. No media, no fanfare, no return address. Just a printed line. "Via diplomatic courier, Jerusalem." Her assistant raised an eyebrow. "Should we screen it?" "No," Jasmine said, already opening it. Inside was a handwritten note, in English, but not American. "My name is Lena. I'm the sister of Shireen Abu Akleh." The air in the room seemed to shift. The letter continued. "They tried to erase her. Her voice, her name, her story. And for a while, it felt like they succeeded. Until you said her name out loud. In your Congress. In front of the world. I want you to know, for us, that wasn't politics. That was dignity. That was truth." Jasmine read it twice. Then again. She didn't cry, but she didn't speak for a long while. Finally, she turned to her staff. "We need to respond." "To the press?" one asked. "No," she said. "To her sister, with care." Later that night, she posted one sentence. "Some names deserve silence. Hers deserves to be heard." No hashtags. No call to action. But within an hour, number Shireen Abu Akleh was trending again. Far away, in a city Jasmine had never visited, a mother placed a hand on a photo frame and whispered, "She wasn't forgotten." By the end of the week, Jasmine's inbox had exploded, not from lobbyists, not from donors, but from people, across oceans, borders, and conflict zones. Palestinian journalists, Israeli human rights lawyers, Jewish Americans, Arab Americans, war correspondents, some angry, some inspired, but most of them grateful. One message stood out. It came from Tel Aviv, signed only, "A soldier's brother." "My brother served in Jenin. He followed orders. He came home different. Then he read your words. And for the first time, he questioned what he saw. No one ever says their names here. You did. Thank you." But not everyone applauded. On Capitol Hill, quiet pressure turned to direct confrontation. A senior Democratic senator pulled Jasmine aside in a hallway. "You're not helping the party right now." She stared at him. "I wasn't trying to." He frowned. "You're not here to start international incidents." She stepped closer. "Number, I'm here so we stop pretending they're not already happening." That night on live television, Rubio doubled down. "She's becoming the face of anti-Israel extremism in Congress." And Jasmine? She didn't clap back. Instead, she released the full transcript of her original statement, annotated, footnoted, fully sourced. No shouting, no spin, just truth. And slowly, something shifted. People stopped asking, "Did she go too far?" and started asking, "Why didn't anyone say this sooner?" It was a closed-door briefing, Foreign Affairs Subcommittee. No cameras, no audience, no applause lines, just policy, paper, and Jasmine Crockett sitting directly across from Marco Rubio again. But this time, the room felt different. Rubio flipped through his binder. "Let's be clear. The U.S.-Israel relationship is non-negotiable. The threats we face—" Jasmine didn't interrupt. She waited. "And the false equivalency between democratic defense and terrorist propaganda is—" She raised a hand, calm, sharp. "Senator Rubio," she said, Do you know what accountability means? He froze, not because of the word, but because of the tone. She continued, It's not betrayal to ask questions. It's not anti-Semitic to demand truth. And it's not extremism to care about who dies. A young staffer scribbled furiously. Rubio shifted in his seat. You're politicizing a tragedy. Jasmine looked him straight in the eye. You politicized it when you turned grief into a talking point. I'm just trying to turn it back into a name. Silence. Then a low, unexpected voice from the corner of the room. Another senator, not a progressive, not even a fan. Let her finish. That was the moment. Rubio blinked. He looked around and realized he was no longer holding the room. Outside, reporters waited for leaks. They didn't get quotes. They got a shift in tone. Later that night, a headline spread. Rubio drowned out in closed hearing, Crockett emerging as moral voice on foreign policy. The next panel was televised. Rubio came in prepared. Charts, rehearsed talking points, and a tone that screamed, I'm back in control. But something had changed. The moderator didn't start with him. She turned to Jasmine first. Congresswoman Crockett, how should the U.S. approach long-term peace in the region? No one had ever asked her that before, not on camera, not like this. She didn't hesitate. We stop pretending peace is a favor we grant, and start admitting it's a responsibility we've avoided. She leaned forward, voice low but steady. Peace doesn't come from picking sides. It comes from picking truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Rubio shifted in his seat. Are you saying we abandon our allies? No, she replied. I'm saying we stop abandoning our values. Gasps, nods, and then applause. On social media, the moment exploded again. Clips titled, Jasmine Crockett just rewrote the foreign policy playbook. Not left, not right, just brave. Behind the scenes, foreign policy think tanks began quoting her lines. University professors started building curriculum around her speech. A Middle Eastern ambassador quietly reached out to her staff. We've heard Congress before, but this felt different. And in Rubio's office, aides stared at the analytics. Jasmine's approval rating was surging. His was flatlining. The headline dropped late at night. Crockett once detained at protest. Is she fit for diplomacy? Rubio didn't post it, but his team leaked it. A 12-year-old photo. A young Jasmine, arms locked with others in front of a courthouse, zip-tied and defiant. The networks circled like vultures. Fox, Newsmax, even centrists. Was this the kind of truth-teller America wanted? The next morning, Jasmine faced the press. No prepared remarks, no media consultant, just a podium, and the photo, projected behind her. Yes, that's me, she said. I was 22. I got arrested for protesting the death of a black teenager shot by police. The state called it disorderly conduct. I called it grieving. Silence. She leaned closer. You want to know why I said Shireen Abu Akleh's name? Because I know what it's like to feel erased, to scream into systems that weren't built to hear you. They think this photo makes me weak. I think it explains why I'm strong. Across the country, the backlash collapsed, because authenticity doesn't need a spin cycle. Young activists posted, that arrest made me respect her more. She's the first politician I've seen who doesn't run from who she was. Even unexpected voices chimed in. A Republican veteran wrote, we need more leaders who've stood for something, not just stood by. Rubio didn't say much after that. For once, his silence said everything. It was a tribute, not a press event, not a campaign stop, just a small auditorium, a few hundred chairs, and a sign on stage that read, Say her name, a memorial for Shireen Abu Akleh. Jasmine sat in the second row, not on stage, not at the podium, just present. Shireen's sister took the mic. You didn't just say her name, she said, her voice trembling. You made the world remember it. The room was silent, not out of formality, but because something sacred was happening. Later, the host asked Jasmine to speak. She hesitated, then walked up. No notes, no applause cue, just her voice. There are names we learn in school: presidents, generals, lawmakers. And then there are names they hope we'll forget: journalists, children, mothers, the ones caught in the margins. She looked out across the audience. But we're building a different memory now, one that doesn't depend on power to be valid, one that doesn't need permission to matter. Then she stepped back from the mic, but before she did, she left them with this: say her name. Not just today. Say it when they raise their voices to shout. Say it, because the truth doesn't need volume, it just needs witnesses. Outside, reporters waited, but Jasmine didn't stop. She didn't speak. She just walked through the crowd and let the silence follow her like a banner. Because in the end, she hadn't come to fight. She'd come to remind, and the world finally listened. I didn't come here to win a debate. I came to remember someone they hoped we'd forget. I came to say a name, not to make headlines, but to honor truth. Because when voices rise to drown out justice, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is whisper a name that still matters. If that makes people uncomfortable, then maybe it's time we all get a little uncomfortable. Not for me, not for politics, but for the people we've left behind. Say her name. Say all their names, and don't stop saying them until silence is no longer a strategy, but a choice.